Hey, good morning, gang. It's Tuesday morning, and I am just outside of Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And I wanted to catch up with everybody about my night last night and some really cool things that went on. Um, but before I do that, here's some other cool stuff. So apparently, I'm not sure how all this stuff works, but um, when I left York Daily Record, my hometown, there's that damn chin thing again, did a article on me, and I don't know how it works, but they must have released it out to the AP wire. Because I got a bunch of emails from folks yesterday saying, hey, I read about your story, I support you. And they were small papers throughout Pennsylvania. In fact, I came to find out that the LA Times and the Chicago Tribune published it as well. So it's great that the Point the Thumb message is getting out there. So I'm really excited about that, and I appreciate help with that. In fact, Mike, whose family I stayed with last night, had reached out to his local paper and just sent them a link. And I'm actually sitting outside a strip shopping center right now, having just met with a reporter from the paper who wanted to come out and cover the story and the journey. So I really appreciate all of the feedback and show you how folks, if you reach out to some media, that they will respond and we can spread this message together. So I guess the best thing to do is to kind of just tell you about last night, so how it came to be. Earlier last week, middle of last week, I got an email from a gentleman that said, hey, I've been following you, I like what you're doing, and I live in Greensburg. If you're coming through that way, you're welcome to stay, and I really appreciated that. So we touched base, and so one of the nice things about my journey yesterday was to know that at the end of the day, I didn't have to go through the whole try to track down a place to stay. So Mike he come with his two boys to pick me up. Went back to his house. Just a great family. His wife Missy was still at work at the time, and we had dinner. And his boys are 5 and 3, and I miss those ages. And it's funny just watching the dynamic. And I got to give props to Mike with respect to this. I was very integral in raising my kids and being involved with them, and I like to think I did a pretty good job. But how you manage kids is an art. It really is an art. And just sitting back and watching Mike with his boys was such a pleasure. So part of it brought me back to my time, and part of it I looked at with envy, learning some things, because the way he handled each of them in different moments. Little kids would get fussy. Dinner, one likes his vegetables, one doesn't, and it was just a nice dinner, a nice time. The boys were just fun. They let me read to them a little bit later on, and Mike and I got a chance to talk later. There's so much to write about nights like last night. I get limited with time, and I talk too damn much. We all know that. You know it, I know it, but it is what it is. So it's hard to kind of get points across the way I'd like to, but I guess that's why the book's going to come out, because I'll be able to take a night like last night and expand on it and different. I'm just trying to keep you guys in the loop a little bit now. So it was funny. Mike's wife Missy was going to do a friend a favor that she, I want to say Mary Kay. I think a friend sells Mary Kay, and they were doing some kind of thing last night. But Missy got to be the model to get a free facial and a whole bunch of different stuff. So, I can't really blame Missy for going. You get stuck with me for a night, or you get free pampering and facial. That she opted for a free pampering and facial. Who knew? So she didn't come back till later. But Mike and I had a chance to talk. And as it turns out, Mike used to live not far from where I live currently. He was out in York, Pennsylvania, a town called Lewisberry, and so he knows the area, he knows it well, and he was involved working in a career, at a job that he felt really, like it seems to be a common theme through some of these meetings, he seems to have been in a career that he just really wasn't happy with. And where I give people like my friend Wayne I talked about, and Mike a lot of credit, because I don't have the courage to do it, was, he recognized early in his life that this was not something that he wanted to be doing, and he went down a different path and chose a different path. And I guess his aha moment, his little epiphany, was telling me he went with a bunch of friends up in New York City, and they were at a bookstore, and when you go to a bookstore, everybody has their own different passions, or it's sci-fi, or romance, or sports, or crossword puzzles. So this group of people all just went their separate ways, and I guess Mike found himself in front of this sociology kind of section, talking about people and life and intricacies of that nature. And apparently the gentleman that was, I don't know if it was his friend and one that was kind of running the show, but he came over to get Mike. He said, I knew I'd find you here. And at that moment, Mike kind of had this, mini epiphany that said, this is really what I'm kind of called to do. And so he took his life at a young age and had the ability to recognize, what he did, or what he was doing, and that he wasn't happy. And he went on a whole different career path. And now he does something which I find so extraordinarily difficult, knowing I couldn't do it, the way I invest myself in folks. And Mike got involved with CYS, Children's Youth Services. So some of his responsibilities are when he gets children, and he was explaining, it's fascinating, the levels. I never knew this stuff existed, but the different levels of how you try to get a child into either a fellow family member or a foster home, and all the things that are entailed with it. And the thing that struck me from my standpoint is, like I said, I worked in a business that is sometimes very unrewarding, and people do work really hard for you, and that alone was enough to just kind of, over time, repetitive, just kind of drain me. And now here's Mike that has voluntarily put himself in a situation where he has to see sometimes the worst of humanity, sometimes the best of humanity. He's talking about seeing broken homes and situations where a child didn't sign up for anything, but their life is being written for them because of actions of others, and these kids can't do a whole lot about it. So, Mike takes his job very seriously and has a lot of pride in what he does, and trying to make that a success. And as he said to me when I asked him about how difficult it is, he said, the odd thing is there's no middle ground. It's either incredibly rewarding or incredibly disappointing, And then I talked about some other things with him that I've known about or heard about the industry in terms of rumors, in terms of, it seems to me that everybody that's in social services, unfortunately, they're a group of people that are underpaid and overworked, and you have caseloads, and asking how many times do things fall through the cracks, and things like that. And one of the things I was really happy to hear is, well, every business, every profession, every career, you've got your top half and your bottom half. That's any job. But Mike was real proud to share with me that the way his group runs is that they rely upon each other for information and feedback. So it's not just one person, playing judge or jury, and maybe that's not the right terminology, judge and jury, but that they're asking for additional input to be able to make the right decision for these kids and these families. And I can only imagine how gratifying it must be to take some child that's been kind of from a broken home and get in place with another family member, and that family member is their willingness to take them. And that's something that was definitely eye-opening to me here, was that, so the way it was explained to me, and if I tell it wrong, I apologize, but so I'm a child and my parents have some issue that I'm taking from the parents. Well, the first thing that the group does is they try to find a family relative, kin, that could look after me. And it sounds like it's a simple thing, but the sacrifices that I came to find out that these family members make, first of all, they don't get paid a penny until it's official, but during that whole time, they have to not just lay out money, but time and energy to take me to my doctor's meetings, my court cases, everything that goes with it. So, you hear about the foster system, and I don't know a whole lot about it. I know a lot more today than I did yesterday, but I see foster parents, and I have such a greater respect for them now. I always had a great respect anyway, but I have such a greater respect for them now, because these folks didn't create the situation. All they're doing is trying to point the thumb at themselves and say, hey, how can I help the situation? And it does come with a great deal of sacrifice, not necessarily monetarily, but time and energy. And again, you're getting a child that has some degree of scars on them from from other people, and it's an amazing thing. So I could absolutely see where that would be gratifying in that regard. So that was kind of a neat thing. The other thing that he told me that is more myth than legend, and I'm really glad to hear this. I've heard stories about people that just use the foster system as an economic means, right? They get paid for the kids, they bring in kids, they don't really invest in the kids. It's about surviving monetarily. And he said to me, Jim, that's so far from the truth in anything he's seen. He said, I'm sure there might be one or two out there that over his career that he's seen, but when he told me the monetary value, it's next to nothing. And then, when you add in everything that they've got to do, it's just not the case. So, if you've got folks out there that want to talk about, foster parents and they're just kind of beating the system or something like that, it's not the case at all. So, it was neat. Missy came home later in the night, and I got a chance to talk with her a little bit. And it was getting late, so I didn't spend a lot of time with her. I do have a general question I ask a lot of folks. I say, what's your favorite movie of all time? I ask 3 or 4 questions I think tells you a lot about people. But Missy, God bless you, she came up with one of my favorites of all time, Christmas Vacation, the best Christmas movie maybe ever. Chevy Chase is a god to me. But anyway, so that started the ball rolling for us talking. But what I really found fascinating was again this morning. So I got up pretty early, and I went upstairs, and Missy was there, and she and I had a little bit of time to talk. And again, I give her a lot of credit, because here was somebody, she was an athletic trainer on the college and high school level, and she loved what she did, but what she came to find out, especially at the college level, is the travel and the hours are great for a single person, right? You can be at a game at 11 o'clock at night and be back the next day at 6 a.m. to help the players get healed and things like that. But as a young mother, that job isn't really conducive to it. So as much as she really enjoyed the position, she knew it wasn't something that she wanted to do with her young boys. So she kind of got out of that and went to seek out a different career. So she entertained nursing for a while, but they too have some crazy hours. And eventually she went to become a dental hygienist. And she's only new in the business, graduated in May. And what was fun to see is in just hearing her talk about it, and I found this with myself a little bit, when you're helping somebody, when you're telling, you don't even realize it, but your body language, you just kind of puff up a little bit and you puff out, and you're so happy to talk about it. She was so thrilled with the people she's working with and what she's doing and how she gets to see her kids. And I was really genuinely, truly happy for her. But again, I keep coming back to the same thing. I never had the foresight at my age to do what these folks are doing, to recognize, hey, this is something that I'm not sure I really want to be doing, and have the courage to get out of it. I've never been the best financially, so I would get a job and I would make a pay grade up here. I would live just above it. So then I was kind of locked into that career, because if I wanted to move out into something else, it usually required going entry level, and usually required a pay cut, and just the finances of it wouldn't allow that to happen. So I really give a lot of credit and respect to these folks. The kids were great. You could see how they love their mom and dad. The hospitality they showed me was amazing. And I can't thank these folks enough. There's so much more to say about them, and some of the things Mike and I talked about. But as usual, I'm running short on time here. So this morning we got up, Mike dropped me off here. One of the things I think I mentioned, Mike reached out to a local reporter or a local newspaper. They contacted me and yesterday, and I just met with the reporter here a short while ago. And she said she's actually going to reach out to Mike, because I think that's really a great story too. Is it's not so much what I'm doing. I'm not the story. It's these people like Mike and Missy and their boys that reached out and said, hey, here's a complete stranger that we're not in fear of. We trust him to come into the home, maybe learn about him. Maybe someday, 20 years from now, the little boys will remember, hey, you know what, I remember when that guy did that, and they'll have a different approach to some aspect of their life. I don't know. Yeah, so Mike made that happen for me. Again, I can't thank you guys enough. I love you, Mike, Missy, Max, and Aaron. Cute as heck, those little guys. Cute as heck, man. And so well-mannered. It was neat. So that's about it for today, guys. I'm dealing with some rain. I woke up around 5, left an earlier message. I woke up, heard some thunder. I haven't had bad weather yet, but we got rain out here now. I got ponchos. I'll be okay. I'm going to start plodding through it here shortly. Thanks for listening. I love you guys. I wish I could talk more about this. I'm going to put some pictures up there later. I'm waiting for a family picture to be sent to me. And just stay tuned. Another day. I'm heading to North Versailles, PA. I don't have a place to stay yet, but stay tuned. That's the journey, guys. All right? I love you. Thank you.